Welcome to Open House, the real estate and mortgage show on News Talk 580 CFRA.
With Frank Napolitano and Paul Rushforth, here is Steve Gregory.
Hey, Paul is off today.
It's going to be a great show then, right there.
Jonathan Hull is here.
Our listenership just went all the way up.
Obviously, Frank is here. Hey, we can almost breathe today.
Just about.
Almost. Interesting, eh? Interesting week around. I was in Quebec City, and I got on a bus at 5:30 yesterday morning to catch a plane, and we're looking up at the sky, and we thought it was the moon, but it was actually the sun because of all the smoke around and all the haze around that it actually changed the way it looks. So, but boy, I mean, it's supposed to be clear blue sky, and yet there's that.
Yeah, we only get so many of these. Can we not get rid of the smoke?
Oh, we get out of that long winter and then a spring that never showed up, and we finally get some nice weather and a smoke screen.
Far-reaching, though. Boy, it's incredible how far this has gone. It can't be good for the environment.
It's become the new norm now. Every summer,
it really is. Disappointing. So I don't imagine the housing market is very good in that neck of the woods anymore. And I can't even imagine what insurance companies go through in times like this.
Crazy. I guess if you have a HEPA filter, you're going to sell today, right?
You're good to go. You're good to go.
People are going to start looking for stuff like that.
You know what? You're probably right. Like you said, every summer it seems like we're getting smoke rolling through here. It could become a new trend.
Yeah, I ordered.
So for those wondering if that sounded like a really smart answer, it wasn't Paul. Who's with us? Who's with us? I know he's listening. He just texted me to say be nice to you. I said I will. Just it's you, Paul. I won't be nice.
Can't
to
be
you.
nice
I'll be
to
nice
everybody.
To
apparently,
I'll be nice to Jonathan.
Boy, softballs today. Softballs today over here.
Numbers are out.
We're up. May was great.
It was.
April was slow, sluggish, which is typical for.
Well, the weather. The weather was
no good, and the election. It was the big thing was the election, and everybody thought that there was one party that was going to get in, and then kind of right at the last moment, it swung around. And for a federal government city like this, everybody kind of threw their hands up in April. May was awesome, though. May was great.
Average sale price up 4.8%.
4.8%. Sales were up almost 15%, 14.9%.
Yeah.
It was a robust May. It was really, really good. So
now compared to the year before, but it's probably still not. And listen, take away 20. Well, 20 would have been
COVID years
very
you gotta take
quiet.
away.
21 and 22 probably would have slowed down because the rates started going up. 21 would have been the big year.
Yeah, and you got to kind of take those COVID years away. But May was very good.
Felt better.
Average to above average for the city of Ottawa. It was great, especially after the April month. Nobody really knew what was going to happen. May was great, though. It was awesome.
Finally, the spring market finally kicked in.
And as Frank was saying, the weather, we had a long winter, really long winter, and spring just never sprung. And you couple that with the election season, and it was a slower than usual spring here. But no, May looks good, and we're expecting that to continue throughout the summer here.
Me, or does it feel like there's I notice way more for sale signs and open houses than I have in 5 years, like since COVID. It feels like we're pre-COVID again now.
100%. But at the same time, this is a balanced market. This is what a balanced market looks like. People are worried about what the numbers are doing. The sale price is doing this, the sales are doing that. We're back to a balanced market. This is normal. This is completely normal. People kind of got used to what COVID was like. That's not something that you can get used to. Now we're back into
just a one-off.
Yeah, exactly. It's a one-off or two-off. Well, COVID went for longer than we all wanted it to, but
hopefully it's a never again off.
Exactly. But no, we're back to just a normal, balanced Ottawa market. So you're going to see more inventory, more open houses being done. Good time to buy. It's a good time to buy right now.
Things are obviously moving because new listings are up 8.7%, and the on market is only 2.5 months.
And you've got to be careful with that because, for example, the downtown core with high-rise condos, there's an influx. There's an influx of listings that are pumping those numbers up a little bit. We've been saying for a little while now, we'll say 400,000 to 800,000. Moving. It's moving just like how it should. Luxury properties are a little slower, which again, it's typical for Ottawa. But condos, high-rise condos, especially in the downtown core, there's tons and tons and tons of new listings, which are kind of pumping those numbers up when you look at the...
Well, and the price is down 3.6% from last year.
Exactly.
It sounds like I know what I'm doing. Huh? Thank God I have this paper.
I was going to say, are you reading a book over there or what?
So why condos? Why is the price down for condos? Too many on the market?
Too many on the market. In the downtown core, we've got almost 9 months of inventory, maybe over 9 months of inventory.
Wow.
Oh, it's wild.
That is a lot.
There's tons and tons of inventory. I've got a couple of condo listings. They're It's tough. It's tough, and then it gets competitive. That's when you start to see the prices come down a little bit. But we have tons and tons of listings in the high-rise condo area, and it is what it is, right?
So are prices going to come down more, do you think?
Yeah. I do think prices are going to come down more for high-rise condos, especially in this downtown core. And when you've got the builders out there, the builders' interest rates have steadied. Builders are going to come out.
People are used to interest rates now.
Yeah, they're exactly. And builders are going to come out. They know that they can go out there and start developing again. You're going to see a lot of new builds. And that's going to compete with the resale area. And yeah, it's what it is. Like I said, it is what it is. The downtown core for condos it's going to be tough for a little while. But Ottawa as a whole, that 400 to 800 townhome, semi-detached, detached home, very good, very balanced.
Homes have got to show, though, right?
Oh, God. Greg can speak to that. They have to show. They have to show well right now because you're competing with somebody else probably, 4 or 5 doors down. So
with more listings, more competition.
You've got it. And if your home doesn't show well, they'll go to the next one 2 streets over and purchase that one. They've got to show well.
You may not even get them there if it doesn't show well.
No, exactly. You've got to have it show.
No matter how good the pictures are.
That's my job. Get them in the door, no matter how good. And then I turn it over to John, and then he's got to deal with all the feedback.
Are first-time homebuyers not going for condos anymore, Frank?
Well, it's hard because, again, they've got that stigma that goes with them on condo fees and potential problems down the road. And they look at the monthly payment. Again, if you're a first-time home buyer, it's all about, okay, how much of a down payment can I come up with? And if you buy a condo, it's less. You're still having to come up, though. I mean, average condo, $400,000 maybe?
I'd say about $450.
$450. So you're still having to come up with
$4,047.
There you go. So
average.
Average,
exactly.
yeah.
No, that's for
sure.
apartment condos.
Apartment condos, I would say that most people like to get into a one-bedroom plus den.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
They want to get that 600 or 700 square feet, a little bit to grow into. Because, you've certainly got the ones that are 400 or 500 square feet, that 380 to 420.
That's a real first-timer, though.
Yeah,
That's a single person.
It's a single person.
Exactly.
It's a hard market. The buyer pool for those are small. It's a smaller group of people that are looking for something like that.
Yeah.
Most people are looking for at least that 1-bedroom plus den, just a little extra space. But
So $450. So $450. If you're looking at $450, you've got a down payment of $22,500. Now on top of that, you got legal fees. Land transfer tax will be minimal because if you're a first-time home buyer, the first $380 is land transfer tax free because you get the rebates. So you're still having to come up with $27,000 to $30,000. And then if you look at the mortgage payments, as much as the interest rates have come down from a couple of years ago, they're still high in comparison to 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And because the price of the condo is much more than it was 5-6 years ago, where a first-time home buyer could have bought in 2019 that same unit maybe for $300,000, would have been much more reasonable than today at the $450, because now you've still got monthly payments probably with condo fees and taxes $2,700 to $2,800, and you're looking, I could maybe rent it for $2,000 or $2,100. So, I can't afford to put out another $600-700. That's the problem with the market. And I was in Quebec City for a conference this week, and they talked a little bit about the fact that we need more housing. I'm starting to question whether we need more housing in this country, because the reason we were needing more housing is because we went through the COVID craziness where everybody wanted to buy a house regardless of whether they could afford it or not, because they were doing it based on low interest rates and the fact that their jobs were safe. Now that all of a sudden that table has turned a little bit, do we really need a lot more housing when immigration's not a problem anymore? Because we're certainly more picky about the amount of immigrations coming into the country. I think kids are staying home much longer than they should.
Absolutely.
Because they're not moving out. And I think seniors are starting to think about cashing out and maybe getting out of those homes. So it opens up a little bit more inventory, which means that do we need affordable housing? Yes. Should the government be getting into the business of housing? I don't think so. I think the government should be
That's a complete reversal. That's a complete reversal.
They should be refereeing, and they should be making sure municipalities do everything possible to make sure that they can minimize what it costs to build a house and the development charges. But I think builders should be building, and the government should be doing everything possible to make sure that those houses are actually affordable for young Canadians to be able to move into.
Now, why is everybody trying to sell their condos?
I think it's
investors.
Are they moving up?
Yeah, it's a lot of investors, and it has to do with the interest rate. A lot of people, with the interest rates going up, a lot of people, those investors especially, they were on a variable because the rate was so low. and it bounced up, and a lot of them did what they could for as long as they could, but it comes to a certain point in time where it just doesn't make sense, right? The money doesn't make sense anymore.
And they want to cash out, I guess? They've got some equity if they bought 5 years ago.
Yeah, equity, a little bit of equity, but more so that they're, like Frank was saying, if they, at 2%, they're paying $1,900, they're renting it out for 22 or 23. That's a tiny little profit every month.
No cash flow.
Now they've got no cash flow and it's gone the other way. And they'll carry it for as long as they can with that negative cash flow. But then it gets to a certain point where you go, it just doesn't make sense anymore. And we're seeing investors, I've got 2 right now. They're trying to, they're like, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
Well, again, I mean, they're following the footsteps of Toronto. We talk about Toronto, and a lot of times,
very true.
Other cities take a little longer than Toronto. But in Toronto, the main reason there's so many condos for sale is because investors can no longer cash flow them, and they want out.
Yeah.
Like, they just simply want out. But the problem is that with work from home happening, the condos are less attractive in downtown Toronto. And with the traffic, I don't know when the last time you've been in Toronto is.
Oh, God, it's awful.
It's absolutely awful.
They need a tunnel.
It's awful. They need a tunnel. They need more than a tunnel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So what do you do if you want to sell your condo today? What do you have to do? Price?
It's price. Because a lot of them look good, right? Most of the buildings that you're dealing with in the condos, especially in downtown core, are, we'll say 3 to 10 years old. It's price, condition, location. The location's obviously great. We're downtown Ottawa. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The condition's great. It's less than 10 years old. There's nothing that you can do to it there. It comes down to price. And especially when you've got a building that's got 12, 14, 15 active listings, you're competing with somebody a floor below, a floor above. It's price.
So will investors come back to the condo market?
Eventually they will. I mean,
if prices go down low enough.
Exactly. And we kind of see that pendulum swing back and forth, right? Especially with condos. They're so easy to develop. If you're trying to develop a neighborhood, you're building semis or single family homes, they take a lot longer than putting up a 20-story building that's downtown, right? And then you've got 400 units that goes up instantly, opposed to a neighborhood that you've got 75 or 100 houses that takes longer to develop. So no, the pendulum swings back and forth, and we've always seen that. The condo market's a little more volatile than the housing market because it's so easy to put 400 units in a parking lot, off of Rideau, opposed to developing an area out in Carp or Stittsville.
And you're making more on the land.
Exactly.
521-TALK, 521-8255. We will be right back. Welcome back. Paul is off today, but I'm sure he's listening, eh, Frank?
Oh, I'm sure he's listening.
Jonathan Hull is here doing a bang-up job.
He needs to learn.
Correcting me where he needs to.
It's always good being here with you, gentlemen.
Frank is here, of course. Job numbers, not good.
Well, I don't know. Were they not good?
7% unemployment.
Okay, but we created jobs.
In the private sector.
But we were plus in jobs.
Yeah.
How come the unemployment went up?
I don't know. You're the expert.
No, I'm definitely not Stats Can, that's for sure. I see what you're feeling, Jonathan. I see what's going on here.
No softballs today.
No softballs. Nope. No, but you do scratch your head. Like anybody who's got to be scratching their head saying, wait a second. How's it possible that
we created jobs and the employment rate went up?
And how the private industry creates 61,000 jobs. The public, again, government, 21,000, I think, less jobs, but most of them were election-based because, of course, during the election, they hire everybody to work the election, and all of a sudden they only have 1 month jobs, and now those jobs are gone. But all I read about every day is not the hiring sprees. I hear about layoffs everywhere, including the government. Again, was it Department of Justice, I think, another 800 employees yesterday. All we're reading about is all these layoffs that are happening, and yet we create jobs. The math doesn't add up for a lot of people, and I know that their statistics are based on a small pool, and then all of a sudden they use that for the rest of the country. But it just has an odor to it, and the same thing happens south of the border, where they're all the way down to 4.2. Yeah. And every month they report these robust job numbers only to revise them throughout that month, and all of a sudden it's a fraction of what they originally reported. So it doesn't feel like it. The streets tell us a different story.
I was going to say it doesn't pass the eye test.
It just doesn't.
I was out last night watching the hockey game, and I talked to 3 or 4 people. They were government employees. They were laid off.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, and that's been a common theme is that people are being laid off. And then, like you said, you read these job reports, and it's like, well, it's not passing the eye test. It doesn't pass the eye test.
Well, to be fair, Ottawa's at 5.6%, so a little below the average.
No, but again, I mean, so Windsor went all the way up. All these manufacturing jobs were lost. Yeah. All these, so many jobs got lost, and they report all these jobs that got lost. Well, who hired then? Like, where's the 61,000 new jobs? Is it?
Did you see the breakout? Was it part-time or was it full-time?
Well, I think there's a much higher number of full-time jobs than was anticipated. Hence, the bond markets went up yesterday because they were surprised that the unemployment rate went up, but they were surprised that the job report itself, the meat of the job report, gave a different feeling than the unemployment going up to 7. So, again,
seriously, can you figure this out? I can't.
I don't know.
It.
I try reaching out to Stats Can. I mean, not a chance. The numbers again pass the odor test. In my eyes, they just don't.
I agree 100%. It just doesn't.
It just doesn't.
What I'm reading and hearing, and then talking in the streets and talking with people, they just don't add up.
So, do you think it's worse?
Of course, it's worse.
Yeah, 100%.
Manufacturing, 12,200 job losses. Warehousing, 15,000 job losses. Well, so who's hiring? So where'd all those other jobs come from? It just, unless it's students, but even the student unemployment rates at 11%. No, 20%. If you're less than 24, it's at 20%. The city of Windsor's at 11% pretty well.
Yeah.
Unemployment. I mean, we're lucky in Ottawa. We've always been that solid city where
blue chip. It's a blue chip city where everybody. Yes, 100%.
Unemployment is lower than the national average. We're just one of those cities. But I don't know. It's a head scratcher for me. When I saw the report, I was certainly surprised. I was not surprised Bank of Canada didn't move on Wednesday. That was expected based on still the uncertainty, everything that's going on. I mean, this week exploded even more with Elon and Trump and their little tit for tat, and
it's a good couple days on the internet.
Incredible, incredible that a leader of the free world is now exchanging tweets like that.
Well, my dad can beat up your dad.
It is what a world we live in now. But at the end of the day, Canadians need to feel confident about buying a home, especially first-time home buyers. And I'm sure a lot of them are scratching their heads. A lot of them are worried. Even if they have government jobs right now, they're concerned whether that job is going to be there because, of course, there's a mandate out, even with the Liberal Party, to bring those public job numbers down tremendously.
But sales are up.
Again, are sales up because everybody pre-bought to avoid some of the tariffs that are forthcoming? Maybe. I guess we'll find out in due time in the next month or two, because the one thing about tariffs, and a lot of the really good economists have said that, they're lagging numbers. The numbers will lag, and we're really only going to see the numbers after 6, 7, 8 months of tariffs, because what happens is everybody stocks up. When they know the tariffs are coming, they stock up. Will the tariffs actually come to fruition? Right now it feels that way. It doesn't feel like Donald Trump is pulling back in any way. But it's certainly impacting. Yeah, it's definitely impacting.
I mean, how many times can you scratch your head in 3 months?
Well, more. I think we're going to be doing it for the next 3 months. We really are.
For the next
again,
3 years. We're probably going to be doing it for the next 3 years.
Well, next year and a half, I will say, because he'll lose some of his power. Once he hits that 2-year mark, and maybe the Senate is taken over by the
damage
by
might
the
be done by then.
Oh, he's got another 18 months of whatever he wants. Now, I don't know that it's going to change for the following 2 years, but he'll have less power to pass some of the bills that he's passing now.
Well, that's crazy.
But it hurts the economy. It hurts Canadians. Canadians, again, need to feel confident about a big purchase such as a home.
Yep.
They need to feel confident about, doing renovations to a home that certainly will add value to the home, but do they need the extra expense if they're not sure that their work is secure, and if they're not sure the cost of everything around us continues to remain stable or starts going crazy like it did during the COVID times.
And people are pulling back on renovations, right?
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of, again, being friends with a lot of contractors, they're struggling to get work. Like from what a change in 3 years where they couldn't keep up to now they're actually calling, hey, do you have any work for me? Do you have any work for me? It's totally night and day. And that's why I question some of the numbers that come out.
Yeah.
Because our eyes tell us a different story than what Stats Canada tells us.
You're not seeing people take equity out of their home now to renovate?
Of course we are. Well, we're seeing it, but the ones that have built up a lot of equity and are very comfortable in where they're at in their career. So whether it's the job that they're very secure in or feel
Older.
very secure in, have a lot of equity, have some savings to fall back on. So we're seeing it there. And then you've got the other side, which are people that just live on the edge. So they're trying to do it as well because they just live on the edge and they think they'll never lose their job. They think they'll never get sick, and that's just who they are. The ones that are the biggest piece, though, is the people that are very conservative and are very, they make an educated decision as to whether they want to do this or not, and very safe decisions. And for them, they're opting to pull back a little bit right now and just make sure that they can build as much equity as possible and build their savings account as much as possible so that if something were to go sideways, they've got some coverage.
521-TALK, 521-8255. We will be right back. Welcome back to the show. Jonathan Hull in for Paul. Frank in for Frank. Greg is here taking a gazillion pictures. Another busy week for you, Greg?
A little quieter this week, but we always see that when we get a big change in the weather. Like
you were busy for a while.
May was insane.
Yeah,
it
was absolutely. Yeah, it was every day. There was multiple listings coming out. I was like, oh, poor Greg.
Oh, May was crazy.
So now, aside from sunshine, people are saying, don't come on a smoky day?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, everybody wants the bright sunny day. No smoke, no
good luck.
No rain. Oh man, I do my best.
Yeah, you were run off pretty well in May.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
which means you guys got a lot of homes to sell.
We do have a lot of homes to sell, but there's a lot of homes that moved in May.
Yeah,
that's. But
I was on your website today. I'm amazed at you can whatever you want to get,
you can get it.
You have available.
And that's. It's like I said, it's a good time for buyers right now, especially coming out of that. Everybody came out of COVID and that whole compete. Now you get to go out and look at a couple different homes in the same neighborhood and, not compete with 5, 6, 7 people and write unconditional offers. It's, as I said, we're back to normalcy. This is what it's supposed to be like. I know a lot of people it's doom and gloom. This is what it was like I've been doing this for 12, 13 years. This is what it was like for the first 8 years. It was just normal, balanced. Yeah. It's normal. This is how it's supposed to be.
People take their time, make their choice.
Exactly.
But that's why it's got to show.
It does have to show. You got to be better than, do you want to be the bride or the bridesmaid?
So what are you looking to do to your house before you list it these days?
Again, I'm a big declutter, clean. Just have it.
It's clean. It's clean, number one.
Yeah. If you walk into somebody's house, whether it be your friends or you're looking at a home and you walk in and it's not clean.
And that's what you can see, right?
It's the first impression. It's all about first impressions. And I'm a big believer in that. From the time that you pull into the driveway or pull up to the home, it looks nice on the outside. You open up the front door, it's not cluttered. It's nice. It's clean. And you want that snowball to go downhill as they're going through the home. You don't want them to stop somewhere and go, look at this.
And no odor. That's the first killer, right? The minute you open that door.
Odor.
You go,
don't be smoking in your homes, people. Please don't be smoking in your homes. It's not so common now, but
you can bomb them now, right?
Smoke's tough. It's smoke and animals are the two big things. And it's it's tough. It's very difficult sometimes, especially because we've got pets.
Hey, you sold my house and I was a smoker with 8 animals.
Probably cost you $100,000. But and I know pets. I've got 2 dogs myself. I understand that, but yeah, you've just got to. Would you be happy walking into your home if it wasn't your house? If you were a guest walking into your home, would you be happy walking into it? And that's kind of the rule of thumb that I use.
Well, I would now because I sold it and they fixed it up.
Perfect.
I'm with you. The first 15 seconds, people walk in a house, it's either yes or no.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right away. Like you can't force. Maybe we can do. You're going to second guess yourself, and we're not talking about buying a pair of jeans. We're talking about buying a house, which is a very expensive proposition. You can resell it, but it's very expensive to resell it. Land transfer tax, there's no rebate if you decide to buy the wrong house and you're going to go through the land transfer tax again, the legal fees again, the real estate commissions again. It's not worth it. You need to, and you're right. I mean, you can, I think most people will walk into a house and inside of 15 seconds, yes or no.
You're bang on, Frank.
They can go through the rest of the house and maybe change a no to a maybe, but to change it to a yes is very difficult. But you can go from a yes, you walk in 15 seconds, to a no once you open other doors, and nope, I don't like it, nope, I don't like it. That could change quickly, too.
The only thing that can save you is certain neighborhoods. Some people want to be in certain neighborhoods, so they will make concessions on the home. But again, it's not helping you out as a seller. If I pull up to a home and the grass isn't cut, garage doors falling off, storm doors falling off.
Yeah. You see money right away.
You see money right away, and it just doesn't, you don't see yourself there. That's the big thing is you don't see yourself there. And again, it's about momentum. you walk through a home and everything's well kept. If you go through a home, it could be dated. It could be very, very dated. But if it's been well maintained, I talk to my clients all the time. Hey, that's okay. You know that these people took care of this home. You're not going to find any.
And you also know there's been no bad renovations done.
That's it. No weekend warrior work.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to cost you extra money outside of what you're seeing. Those are okay. But when you see people who haven't kept up with maintenance, it's unkept.
Now, if you're not crazy about the exterior, but the interior blows you away, are you buying that house?
It comes down to for me personally, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But for some people.
But the other way around, no way.
I was just talking with a client 2 days ago, and I had that conversation with them about how the interior is great for some people, but for some people, the exterior, you got to pull into that home every day. You come home from work, if you don't like the exterior, maybe the first year it's okay. Second year, I don't like pulling into this. The third year, I want to get out of here.
Really?
Well, because you're pulling it. That's the home that you're looking at all the time. And if you don't like it personally, it wears on you. Definitely wears on you. So, no, it depends on people. But I know that if you don't like the look of the home from the outside and you pull in from it every day at work, it'll wear on you. And I'll get a phone call 3, 4, 5 years later, and they go, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like this. I don't like it.
And in this market, you don't have to settle, do you?
No.
You can find what you want.
Yeah, that's the best part. Real estate's always at a good level when you're not forced into, you're not pigeonholed. You can pick what you want, and it creates good competition between the listings so that people aren't putting crap out there.
Yeah.
Right? It's about putting something good out there and competing with somebody else. And it's always nice, like if you guys are looking at a house and you're going into a neighborhood, it's no fun when you want to live in a neighborhood and there's one house to look at.
Yeah.
And you're kind of forced there. It's nice when you have 3 or 4 homes, different layouts, different that's what real estate's all about. You shouldn't be pigeonholed into anything.
Don't even bother testing the market right now, right?
What do you mean?
Lowballing, you know.
People are negotiating. I could say I get there'll be low balls that come in, but again, it all comes down to the seller. Like you can lowball all you want, but as a seller, are you going to accept it?
But you're not going to test the market the other way. You're not going to put your house on the market and go, I'm going to put it up for this exorbitant amount of money and see if it sells. Oh, that's not going to happen today.
You can, but it's not going to sell. I'll
Yeah.
see in 120, 150 days and say, hey, no, this isn't working. And that's when I'm going into listing appointments right now. And I've spoken with Paul about this a ton. You've got to have it listed to the right price right now. It's not one of those markets where it's let's try this. It's not COVID. It's not that crazy market that we had. No, you want to try this price? Well, your neighbor's down the road for $150,000 less, and it's the same thing.
And you got to keep on it, right? It could change from week to week.
Oh, it changes all the time. It does change from week to week. Whatever the most recent sale was, you're only as good as your last sale. So if the last sale was lower or higher, depending on what it is, I just did a meeting with clients middle of this week, and they want to list in July. And we did the pricing. And I said, guys, I know we're doing the pricing right now, but I said, hey, we're going to do another quick report in July before you guys launch, because it could go one way or it could go the other. If your neighbor 2 doors down that's in similar conditions sells for $30,000 less, that's your most recent comparable, and that's the one you got to work off of. However, it could go the other way. It could sell for $30,000 more, and the price that I'm giving you right now is not the price that I can give you in 4 to 6 weeks. It's just it's not the way it works.
Question for you, sir, Mr.
Yep.
Napolitano.
Go for it.
TD survey. Why are 75% of people going for 5-year mortgages, according to their survey?
Safe, conservative. Their uncertainty, again, that key word that seems to be following us around since
75%, though.
Again, banks do a good job of selling the fact of probably, things not being as good down the road as they are today, because it's extremely profitable for them for a client to take a 5-year fixed, because realizing that there's a good number of people that have to break their mortgages early for circumstances that are out of their control, it's a very profitable game for them. It just is. And they make Canadians feel like, hey, look, you're going to take this 4.25%, 4% mortgage for the next 5 years. We don't know what's going to happen. Look at who's leading the U.S. I mean, rates could hit 6 or 7%. When if you listen to Donald Trump, his mandate is to try and, apart from, doing what's best for Americans, as long as he profits from it. But,
apart from getting TV time.
Wow, that goes without say. But, he's very adamant about interest rates having to come down for Americans probably his rich Americans friends, but still for Americans in general, because he knows how important that is to the U.S. economy. So, if rates are, and I feel like they have to come down in the U.S., otherwise they're going to be in a world of hurt. So if interest rates come down in the U.S., they're definitely going to come down in Canada. What we've seen is the Bank of Canada, outside of the last two meetings, which they've stood still, aggressively start to bring prime down, much more aggressive than it's happened in the U.S. European nations this week dropped by a quarter point, so they're dropping it because they're foreseeing the fact that the economy is likely going to stumble with all the tariff talk, the uncertainty that's out there. So, again, Canadians are reading these articles and saying, I think I'm going to take the 5-year, and then the banks do a really good job. And I think I told you guys, in the break where I was at a bank conference this week, and I asked the question, hey, you guys, you want us to send you more business, but we're skeptical of sending you 5-year fixed business because you guys use this posted rate to take advantage of consumers. I knew I was going to get a corporate answer, and I did. And it's all about hedging, and they got to remake. And the truth is, listen, everybody in that room outside of the people that work for the bank know it's for profit.
Yeah.
And that's what Canadians are up against because they trust their bankers. And listen, banks have done a good job. They're extremely profitable. They're extremely important to our economy and to Canadians. But they also have a way of increasing their profits in a way that Canadians maybe are blinded. And by going to a non-bank lender to get your 5-year fixed, at least if something were to happen, you've got an opportunity to be able to break that mortgage with a reasonable penalty, as opposed to if you're with a bank. That's why they're selling the 5-year more than they're selling the 3 and the 4-year. That's why the 5-year is the most popular, because it's also the most profitable for them. So, again, if I had to take a fixed rate at a bank, it would be a 3-year. It wouldn't be a 5-year. Because at least at 3 years, if something were to happen, it's a reasonable penalty to break it. And the question is, well, Frank, we don't know, and the bank doesn't know if interest rates are going to be better in 3 years or if they're going to be better in 5 years. So I don't know that there's a risk in taking a 3-year versus a 5-year because there's a good chance that rates might be lower in 3 years. And you might be able to get out of that mortgage without any penalty and now maybe lock in for a better rate.
Obviously, they don't want you to take a 10-year rate. It's at 5.34.
They don't, but that's because they're hedging for long and because they know that the rules are that if you take a 10-year mortgage at 5.34, once you hit the 5-year mark, the bank can only charge you 3 months interest. So it doesn't matter what the posted rate is. That's the circumstance where it matters. But if you take a 10-year and you lose your job after 2 years, now the penalty is over an 8-year period. And if you think the 5-year would be painful, multiply that by 3 when it comes to the 10-year, because the penalty would absolutely take away all the equity you might have in your home.
You'd be in the hole.
Like that. You might be.
Yeah.
You might be.
Ouch. 521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Jonathan in for Paul. Frank is here. Fixed rates compared to variable. What is your recommendation today, sir?
Depends on the client, obviously. If the circumstances are correct, I still believe that an adjustable variable might be the better move. There's still, so again, we had an economist from Scotiabank that spoke to us this week, and he believes that Bank of Canada will wait until 2026 to lower interest rates. But he's the total opposite of everybody else in this country. Every single economist in this country believes Bank of Canada's got 1 or 2 prime rate drops ahead. So if you're taking, even if you only get 1, you're down to 4.7 on prime. If you're able to get a mortgage at prime less 3/4, you're at 3.95. There is no world right now where prime rate is going up. There isn't now. Can that change? Of course, if inflation, and again, Mark Carney spoke yesterday, there's a world where they can get around the 2% if it makes sense, if the economy's struggling and the unemployment's going up. I think Bank of Canada will have to alter their plan and maybe not raise prime rate just because inflation's higher. But I still believe that we're heading into, at least, again, I go based on what the streets tell me, what people tell me. And we live in a conservative city where unemployment's only at 5.6 versus the rest of the country. And even in Ottawa, I feel that people are nervous right now about spending money. And they're holding back. Now, restaurants tend to be busy, but they tend to be very busy on weekends. And from the restaurant owners that I know, they're saying during the week they've really noticed a difference where people aren't going out to eat during the week. So they make their money on the weekends, but on the week they're struggling. During the week they're struggling now. But I wonder if that's going to change a little bit. And of course, restaurants, most of them that don't have patios struggle in the summer because people go to cottages and people do barbecue at home. So we'll have to see what the numbers look like, but we just lost the Bay, 8,000 employees.
Yeah.
Department of Justice is laying off 260 people. They just announced. Passport Canada a couple of weeks ago, another 880. All we're reading about is layoff after layoff after layoff. And at some point, they all catch up and the economy feels for it. So if interest rates are coming down, I would say if you can and if you can stomach it, it's not a matter of taking more risk because there's no proven that says that you're riskier to take a variable than you are to take a 5-year fixed. Yes, if you were in a variable in 2022, you saw your interest rates go up tremendously over a 12-month period. But if you look over the history of 30, 40 years, you were better off to be in a variable adjustable mortgage than you were to be in a fixed mortgage. You would have won out almost every 5-year period. So there's a lot of Canadians that are comfortable with the variable. Yes, they don't like what happened over that 2-year period, but if they've been in it for 10 or 15 years, they've been on the right side for most of it. But if you're going to go into a fix and you're with a big bank, I would still say if you're going to renew with your big bank, look at the 3-year and the 5-year. And if the 3 year is the same or slightly lower than the 5-year, you might be better off with the 3-year and see what happens because interest rates may not be, they shouldn't be higher and they may be a little bit lower in 3 years. But if something were to happen where you had to break that mortgage for one reason or another, at least you've got some outs that are reasonably costly effective.
Also brings you to another U.S. election.
Well, it does. And who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, I think Donald Trump is going to run again.
But he only got 15 years left.
Yeah. So anyway, no, but we might have a Canadian election between now and then as well because, I mean, it's a minority government. I mean, I feel like it's going to maybe go to 4 years, but who knows? I mean, things change quickly.
But it sure looks like prime is going to come down. However, fixed seems to be going up.
Again, that's based on the U.S. That's why I say it's so imperative. I mean, as much as all the uncertainty, the tariffs, and, they're making billions on tariffs, the fact remains that if job numbers were to start heading up in the U.S., and if inflation were to start going up, that's the stagflation that everybody talks about because their GDP is going to come down and inflation is going to go up, and it's not supposed to go in that direction. It's supposed to go in the same direction. If that were to happen, then that's a crisis, which generally causes a recession. And if we have a recession, and especially if they have a recession in the U.S., then you can count on interest rates coming down because the bond market is going to soften.
All right, quickly to the telephone, say hello to Graham. Hello, Graham.
Hello.
Calling from Little Italy, Frank's hometown.
Yes, sir.
Yep. What's up, Greg?
Thanks for taking my call. Just had a quick question. I have an investment property in Little Italy, and there's obviously income being generated from it. And I just don't know the best way tax-wise to set that up for myself.
Well, that's an accountant for sure. I mean, the better the accountant, the better you're going to be because you want to make sure that you follow the CRA rules and don't put yourself in any position. Is it a property you've had for a long time that's been an investment property, or you just converted to an investment property?
So I was living in it, and it's a duplex. So I was living in one and renting out the other, and recently moved. So now I'm getting into the territory of them both being rented.
So the first thing I'm going to tell you is I hope you did an appraisal when you moved out because that's the most critical piece that you need. And if you haven't done it and it's been recent, make sure you get an appraisal in place. The reason for that is because while you're living in the unit, it's really been tax-free. But the minute that it becomes a full rental unit, which has become now capital gains start to accrue based on the value. So feel free to call me off air because obviously the end of the show, but feel free to call me at the office on Monday and I can go through a few other pointers with you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Graham. Birthdays,
Frank?
Frank?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, just a few. Obviously, now that Graham was there and he's from Little Italy, it happens to be Italian week. So, big festival down on Preston Street. Lots of Ferraris if you like sports cars and Lamborghinis down there.
The cars down there are awesome.
The reason they moved it to this week is because next week's the F1, and most people with Ferraris love going to the race. So that's why they moved it to this week. So, Christine Earl from my office celebrating her birthday. Good friend Sandy Willette celebrating her birthday this week. And please support the CHIO Telethon, which is happening here in this building, I think tonight, maybe tomorrow. So
my mother, 92 big ones today.
Look, what? 92. Amazing.
Good for her.
Wow.
Good for her.
Yeah. I don't know how she lived with me all these years. But.
Me either. But boy, I can't believe she made it to 92 with a son like you.
I know. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I got to shout out my childhood friend, Corey Giroux. He turned 36 yesterday. Happy birthday, Corey. If you're looking for Paul Rushforth, 613-788-2122. And you can
give us a cell number this way, people.
I don't want to do that, too.
How do we get a hold of you?
Email's the best way. Jonathan, Jonathan, at paulrushforth.com.
Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great weekend. Please support local charities and businesses, and happy Italian Week.